Yeah, green for everything.
I'm getting sent.
All right, sorry. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tracy Guilford. This is the Groveland Cable TV Advisory Board meeting of Monday, the 25th of February, 2019. It's just before 7 o'clock. I apologize for the delay in getting started. First on the agenda, if we could have an update from Chris on the update on the live streaming of meetings.
Sure. Hello, everyone.
Chris.
So we put the purchase order in for Earth Channel. I was on a conference call with them last week. I'm hoping to have their encoders in hand in the next 2 weeks, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get those set up and running in about a week after that. So I'm looking at live streaming meetings from this room by April, and that's that should be good to go. Little IT assistance depending on if this building has a firewall. I don't think it does, but if that complicates things, that might be something that I need to bring in someone who has that kind of knowledge to help deal with. The other thing I may need to do is get a little switch, because we may only have one Ethernet connection over there and we might need two. So that would be pretty inexpensive. I can buy it myself if need be, but that might be something that I need to do. So we're looking at that. I looked at how to cable up what their setup is from the NewTek 8000 last week, and I'm feeling pretty confident it'll be pretty straightforward. We're just going to go component video into it and XLR audio into 3/4 inch, and we'll be streaming in short order.
Hopefully sometime in April.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Agenda, anything else in that regard?
No, the only other thing is we're looking at getting the server and bulletin boards installed within the first 2 weeks of April. They're going to have it in hand in 3 weeks, but because they want to do it all at once, and I think that makes sense, that's looking like what HB's timeline is. It may happen sooner, but that's what they told me to expect. So that's what I'm planning on.
And do you know, will the old server or bulletin boards have any residual value? I know, they're not dead, but, we're replacing them because they could go
Yeah.
due to the age. Is there any value, like $100 to some?
I don't foresee them having anything. I mean, maybe it's something the schools could use. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
I hate
think-
to throw something away that could still be used for a different application.
Yeah. We could brainstorm on that, but I
Okay.
can't foresee anything, in the immediate future that we would need that stuff for, unless, the only other thing I could think of is if they want to put some kind of a signage thing somewhere in town hall, but,
Mhm.
if they wanted to do that, I wouldn't want to give them something that could break at any second right off the
Right.
bat, so.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Any questions on that, or?
Well, could another group in town make use of it? If it were just a donation, that type of
If
thing?
anybody wants it, they're welcome to it, I guess,
Yeah, we'll have to
Yeah.
check with Denise on the procedure for
Right.
disposing of
Of the equipment, yeah.
equipment, because it's town equipment.
Sure.
So it's got to
But
go
if a
through.
town board or something
Right,
that could
yeah.
make use of it.
It might be publicized to the other town boards, committees, that it could be used. But I hate to junk something if it could be used even at the risk of it dying 6 months or a year from now.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine that anyone would know even what to do with
Right.
something like that, but,
Okay.
it could be, if there was like a TV somewhere that they
Right.
wanted to hook it up to, that might be a possibility.
Right, but it could be a standalone, like, message board somewhere.
Right, with, you know, if somebody had a TV,
Right.
or, you know, some kind of a computer screen,
Right.
signage, if they
Okay.
wanted to use that for, that's a possibility.
The proper procedure should be to, when we have no more use for it, to declare it surplus.
Surplus.
And,
Right.
then it get put out, on the bid list or, after, any and all departments have a chance for it within the town.
Right. Okay. But like I say, we'll check with Denise on the procedure on that. All right. Action item 3 is approval of minutes from the last meeting.
Switch back to the,
Okay.
lunch.
Super, thank you. Thank you for that update, Chris. Has everyone had a chance to go over the minutes?
Yes, I have. Ed.
All right, and I know, Beth, you weren't here at that meeting,
Right.
so,
Other was I.
oh, that's right, so,
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as read.
all right. And I'll second it out of necessity, since the two of us were the only.
Well, Chris was,
Yeah, but he's not an official
Oh, that's
board
right.
member, he's our employee,
right,
so it has to be just us.
Broke a rule of necessity to approve them, the two people can't approve them,
Oh, that's right, not quorum.
so, we'd have to,
Table it till next
declare
time.
a necessity so that it can be approved, unless you want to wait until Bob comes back and approve them at the next meeting.
Well, I did, Bob is sick. I had emailed him the minutes, and he said they looked good to him, was the email I got back from him before he came here. So, at proper procedure, we can do that under necessity.
Yeah, rule of necessity is,
I just, I had released our November meeting to the town clerk to be posted on the town website, and I was hoping to release this also, because I want the townspeople to know what's going on, since this will be a really busy year with our contract renewal process. So do you think we should approve it, or should we put it off? What's your feeling? You're more,
I think you, put it off till the next meeting.
okay,
I'll make a motion, we put it off till the next meeting, so that, we can act on it.
okay. So, motion to table then, right?
Yeah.
Motion to table, all in favor of tabling?
Yep,
Right. And you would abstain because you weren't,
I was
At the
involved,
meeting.
I guess.
all right. We'll do that. Review of timeline. Looking at the franchise renewal timeline that we have, one of the action items that we had originally listed for February was meet with the Board of Selectmen. When I went to the Board of Selectmen to ask, they said they're really busy at this time, so that will be put off until March or April. One of the things they expressed concern with looking at the timeline, which I agree with, in May, action item number 1, we have host a public hearing, public forum, or series thereof for the public to present their questions and concerns. They expressed that it's coming late into the season, and people get busy with sports in May, and other things are happening around the schools. So they thought we should be moving that up, which I agree, so I suggest we move, that public hearing will probably be moved up to April. Anyone have an issue with that?
no,
Okay.
No,
No, you have it on the timeline, you have it, under April on the fifth item, plan for a public
Right,
hearing.
but we had it also listed for May, so we will forego that one in May and just do the the April one. Under action items for March, begin ascertainment process. Contact department heads, committee chairs, law enforcement, public safety, interested and concerned school department personnel. What I'd like everyone to consider is dividing up some of the different departments and all of us approaching different departments to get their opinions and feedback on the process. Ed, I know aren't you the liaison to the library from the Board of
Yes.
Selectmen?
Yes.
Do you want to approach the library for their input? I was going to probably take police and fire. If Carl or Elizabeth wanted to approach the electric department, water department, to see if there's anything that they want to, of what we're doing. And then for our next meeting, I'll get a whole list of all the other boards and committees, and maybe we'll do a blanket email from the board to make them aware of what's going on. And
What
then,
kind of, what kind of information are you looking
Yeah.
for from the different departments?
well, again, just seeing how the public access television can be of use to them.
Okay.
Make them aware that we're negotiating the contract and we're seeking input from all boards and committees in town, departments, to see if they feel that they could be served in a way. Because I think, Chris, didn't you say it's the library and police department that have access to the bulletin board for messaging?
There's a bunch of different departments who have access to it. I mean,
Oh,
they're,
Just,
I don't know them all, but a bunch of them are set up so that they can submit bulletins to me and then I can approve them.
for the next meeting, can you provide us with a list? Again, I want to document it,
Yeah.
who has access, and also, can you provide us with, like, I know I've seen bulletins from the library on there.
Yep, usually I do those. but,
Oh, you do those?
I do those usually.
Okay.
They send me the slides for those and I put those up.
Okay,
But sometimes, some of the other stuff gets put up through, the other boards in town or whatnot. They have the ability to do it. I don't know, how frequently they all make use of it, but they're set up so that they can add stuff if they want to.
well, let me ask you this, were any of them trained by you in how to operate the bulletin board?
I don't think anybody who's still here now.
Okay, I mean, that would be, something on our part,
Yeah. that
to
we do.
say to the boards and committees and departments that we have this resource available for you, and we will provide training,
Sure, yeah.
so,
Most of the time I just take whatever they send me and I create it for
Right.
them. So,
okay, well, we can offer it both ways.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Tracy, I just want to be clear. In contacting either these committees or law enforcement, public safety, the idea is, how can public access TV assist your agency, your board? What are they doing now, or how are you accessing it now? And do you want to? So it's just
Right,
kind of an open survey of, what are we doing, what can we do for you, and how would you like to have it done? So then we can decide in some manner how to put that together and say.
right, you
what
could
is needed.
approach it like, when I talk with the fire chief, it would be like, when programming isn't, government programming isn't on, we have what we call the bulletin board.
Yeah.
That has the opportunity for boards, committees, departments to advertise functions, emergencies. But at this point, because we're planning on upgrading to the new bulletin boards, it would not be prudent, I believe, at this point, to train somebody on the old system.
Right,
Just to have in April, a month from now,
a
a
new
new
system,
system
yeah, that
installed.
makes no
And then
sense.
to have to go through a whole new training process, because I'm sure it's going to be different, because it's like
Yeah,
10 years.
It'll look pretty similar, but it'll also look slightly different.
There'll be some difference.
It'll be very similar in the way that you use a web browser to submit certain things and approve
Right.
certain things, but it's gonna look upgraded and newer and all that. I mean, they're not gonna be interfacing with the hardware at all, but,
Right.
you know.
But again, we have this resource for government agencies to get information out to the people, since we do not have consistent coverage in the news media on a daily basis.
So would be,
So I would offer the bulletin board,
Oh, yeah.
say to them, on Channel 9, we have government programming. The different boards and committees are taped and played back. When tapes or programming is not being played,
then you have the list of what's
we
going
have the
on.
carousel
Yeah,
list of what's going on. Would you like to have access to
Okay.
that? It can be done two ways. We will be able to set it up so they could access it themselves from their own computer, or we can put them in touch with Chris. So if they had something they wanted to get out, Chris could load it onto the bulletin board, as he said he's doing for the library.
well, is there a particular format, Chris, that needs to be up there, and is there the type of, I don't know how to say this without, how should something be presented on the bulletin board? So they
Yes.
would need to know ahead of time what they could put up there rather than just.
Right, well, if they look up there at what is there already, they
Right.
will get a good indication on, because yes, there is a space limitation, usually how many lines, the font will depend on what can fit on the
Yeah,
page
and I
correctly.
adjust stuff sometimes to.
And is it
fit.
seen before it's actually broadcast, so that, I mean, I'm
I
not saying
could-
somebody would do this, but what if somebody had some profane laced message from a board? I
Do
mean,
you have
is
the opportunity to,
to just,
I think I have the ability to, approve
Set it,
everything
okay.
before
Okay.
Okay.
anything goes on.
Then-
That
then-
may be an admin setting that, like, it might be Denise who has that and
Yeah.
not me, but.
no, I would think, I would think we'd want to set it up for you to have the access to
Yeah,
yeah,
to control what goes on there.
yeah.
okay.
Okay. So is that
Yeah,
a little better?
it is. And is this something that the boards are already aware of, or this is kind of new
I think,
information, or it's
some
kind of a
are aware,
mix?
Some aren't. I mean, I think the ones who
Be-
regularly do
Right.
content, like
Right.
the library, they're
Sure,
well in touch
Right.
with me all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if, like the fire department, what, they might
Yeah.
be able to wanna present.
I
But,
mean, a
the
lot of-
schools email me stuff
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of it, people are just using the town website.
yeah,
The website is being actively used in town. Most departments have their websites. Some groups, organizations, use the bulletin board, electronic one out there on the
Yeah.
front lawn.
right,
For getting information out.
Okay.
But to just say, we have this as
another means of getting information out.
information out to
Okay.
people.
All right.
Okay. Any other
How-
questions?
How soon prior to a meeting or an event do they put it up on the bulletin board?
Generally, it's, you know, within, as soon as I can put it up, depending on what they want. You know, sometimes they'll say, don't advertise this until this date, or
Okay.
sometimes they'll say, you know, can you run this for 3 weeks before this? So I generally don't have like I'll only air it X number of days thing. If somebody sends me something 2 months in advance, I'll typically put it up there for 2 months. But it's sort of a case-by-case thing, you know.
Yeah, I don't think, you know, we haven't had a lot of use,
How
so.
about getting the public hearing, public forum up as soon as possible on the bulletin board, even though we
Yep.
got one scheduled for April,
Right,
and get that up there as soon as possible.
yep.
Do we know the venue for that? Will that be here? Will that be?
Yeah, well, one of the things again, for the public to know, since we're in our contract renewal, I will be planning, and it will be posted tomorrow, an opportunity for people to drop by Town Hall this Saturday, this Saturday's date.
March 2nd?
March 2nd, from 8:30 to 10, to speak with me if people have me and any of the other board members who wish to be there. Part of our ascertainment process is getting feedback from all the people in Groveland who wish to speak regarding our relationship with Comcast. Pros, cons. The current contract is online. If you go to the town website and go to the Cable TV Advisory Board and click on contract, you can read through the current contract. And for people who want to come in and speak, you know, like I say, good, bad, indifferent, let us know about your dealings with Comcast. For people who are having problems with Comcast, I strongly suggest log and a timeline that if they're having problems, they note the date that their problems start, the date that they call Comcast, the person that they talk to at Comcast, and, you know, the date that it was rectified, if it was rectified, and, you know, if they've called multiple times, and I'm aware of some people who have called multiple times who've had issues, you know, to note that. Your other recourse for people is, you know, for people who feel they've been wronged by Comcast, is the Better Business Bureau and the Department of Public Utility. Is it Department of Public Utilities, or is it,
I think it's the Department of Communications.
Department of Communications? But it'll say so on your Comcast bill, the state government agency responsible for dealing with the cable. But if you note all that, and also copy and send us information as to your problems, so that when we're sitting down with Comcast, we have a stack of issues. You know, I'll be honest, I did have an issue during one of the storms last year where I went without my cable for 3 weeks. But, you know, it was one of the really bad storms, and I knew there were, you know, big complexes that did not have cable service, so me as an individual going without cable for 3 weeks was tough. And yes, I did have a challenge when I said to Comcast, you know, and I should be credited for those 3 weeks I did not have service. They wanted me to pay my bill, and they were gonna credit me the following months. And I stood up and I insisted that I get credited immediately, rather than pay now and get credit later. And after standing up for myself, they did agree to do that. So just want to make people aware. So again, this Saturday, March 2nd, we'll be here in the middle meeting room, myself and any of the other board members available, for people from the town of Groveland who want to come in, and just, it will not be televised. We want people to be comfortable and just tell us what they want to about their dealings with Comcast.
Is that an ascertainment hearing or?
Not,
meeting?
it's not gonna be a hearing, it's just gonna be kinda like an open forum,
Open forum.
so it won't be an official meeting. It will just be an opportunity for the public to speak with us. And to just let people know, in April, we will be doing a public hearing that will be televised, that will have Comcast here as part of our process of
You
negotiating.
should post a meeting though.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna post it, yeah. Let's see, review of timeline, all right. So March, begin the ascertainment process, contact department heads, committee chairs, law enforcement, public safety, interested and concerned school department personnel. Does anyone feel like, they wanna contact, I'll contact, Pentucket. Does anyone wanna contact the Bagnell, principal at the Bagnell? I know we have Charlie go up and he generally does the Festival of Lights.
I think you'd be the better one for that, Tracy.
Okay.
Where you get a contact with, you at the schools.
Okay,
quite often.
yeah, I don't mind doing that. I'll do police, fire, and schools.
Now, I noticed, on the same issue, that the school, actually, I'm not gonna find it. The school is wired,
Yeah, I believe the Bagnell is wired.
Yes.
The high school, I
It's
don't
not.
believe is wired because we had had some discussion, like I had previously said, and it was gonna be kind of like a joint venture between West Newbury, Groveland, and I would think Merrimack would be involved too, and it just never went anywhere.
well, is the Bagnell School, connected? Do you know?
I believe it
It
is.
says,
Yeah.
according to this in Exhibit B, to be connected to the PCM network at the option of the issuing authority.
Mhm.
So maybe you just double check to make sure, see if it is.
Yeah, my understanding, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is that it's on the drop list, but it's not, like, we couldn't go over there and go live from over there. That's my understanding of it.
But I think part of the reason was that, like, we do the town meetings there, but you would never show a town meeting live, because as you know, sometimes we have a hard enough problem getting 100 people quorum. If people knew they could watch it on television, we probably wouldn't get 50 people to show up, let alone 100. So, I don't know if that's something we want to pursue, if it's going to be used. But,
What
We can-
essentially would you use it for? School activities live?
yeah, well, years ago, I want to say, they did do some live programming
Yeah.
from the Bagnell School. And then,
Maybe that's
again-
one of the questions to be out there to the
Yep.
community, is,
Yep,
you know.
do they want to see?
do they want to? I mean, does the school want that
But
as well?
again, it's a question of community may want, but the school may not want.
Right,
So
so
it's
start with the
gotta
school.
work, it's
Mm.
gotta work
Yeah,
with both.
and then is school committee involved in any part of that decision, if it's the school?
Probably,
Yeah.
probably, it's, the
So you open up all
superintendent.
all the extra things. Okay.
Yep, it
Something to
is,
think
it's a
about.
lot. Number 2, under 3 was draft survey questions for an online survey. I gave you, that, Rob Carbone, had drafted,
Yeah,
a survey, so if you want to look through that. and then we can discuss it a little more at the next meeting. But I think it looks really good. Rob, for a lot of you who don't know, lives in Groveland, but he does public cable access in the community of North Reading, and they have just concluded their renewal process. So Rob is helping us through this, since he's really experienced with this. Unfortunately, he was sick tonight. So, you can take that home, read through it, and see if there's anything we want to modify for our next meeting before it would either go online, or we'll also do a paper one that'll be available either here at Town Hall, library, maybe through Council on Aging, prefer to do stuff.
Yeah, and what kind of
old-fashioned way.
timeline for getting back? Is this?
We'll probably give them, a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Because,
okay.
again, if you give somebody and say, oh, you have a month to do it, they'll never
Right,
do it.
Right.
If you say we need this in 2 weeks,
And
then,
do we need this for our meeting in April, the public hearing, do you think, or do we need it?
well, we can pass it out there and make it available for people who are there if they want to take it away, to share with
I
other
guess
people.
the question is, what are we gonna do with it at what stage of this process?
I don't understand.
All right, we're putting out a survey.
Right.
What is the purpose as far as this timeline goes leading up to negotiations? I mean, are we gonna use?
To give us a roadmap of
Right.
where what
Okay.
we need to accomplish.
All right, so I guess I'm asking is where within that roadmap do we see it coming, or do we know right now? I mean, like you said, we don't want to put it out and say you get a month to get it back to us. Do we plan on putting this out at that point in time when we have the public hearing and say, we need it in 2 weeks because we're going to start meeting on regular intervals and we're going to pull from this as much as we can, or?
Well, it's gonna be continuing process. We're compiling information from everyone in town. Again, as you're out among people, you wanna talk to people. What do you think of Comcast? What, we're in the process of, because I think one-on-one works really good with people. People will look at this meeting on television at home
Say,
and say, that's a great meeting, it's long, it'll put me to sleep. And I know, sometimes government meetings can be a little long, but at the same point, we only get to negotiate a new contract every 10 years. So it's vital, repeat, vital for people in this town to give us feedback, pro or con, so that we go into the negotiations with Comcast knowing what the people want to see happen and knowing where their money is being spent.
Okay. Could we have like a drop-off box?
Yes.
Knowing that and saying that tonight on this meeting and in subsequent meetings on Saturday,
Yep.
have the survey, but also say, there's a drop box, town hall, this
Yeah,
place and this
town
place.
hall, well, that's
Put
why
your
I said
comments,
they
put
would
your
be
questions, so,
available,
right.
hopefully. We'll check with the library to see
Yeah,
if they'll allow us to have a
because-
box.
4 or 5 of us walking around town and,
Well, you missed what I said, we're having the public meeting,
right,
we're talking to people, we'll have the survey, so it's a combination of all those together giving
Yeah.
us feedback. All of it.
I get the idea, but I think it could be extremely successful and overwhelming in putting it together, or it could be a couple of little comment cards and the usual,
Yeah, well,
remarks,
speaking from
but-
experience, I mean,
that's what we want, Tracy, because you
since,
you have
since,
this.
since, well, you've been
Well,
through
yeah, I
the
was-
contract process
Yeah.
before, when, the last time, 10 years ago, when we had the ascertainment hearing, I think we had like 20 or 30 people.
Yeah,
Now, what do we have in town? 6,400 people.
right. So it's
We-
their time now
It-
to let
it's-
us know what they think about it.
Yes, yes, so for the people at home, please share with your neighbors, your friends who may not have Comcast, for people who are watching this on YouTube. Please, your vote, your opinion does count in this process. When we have the public hearing and Comcast is here, ideally, I'd like to see this room filled with 100 or more people, to speak about what they like and don't like. Because without them, we can't do much.
With just quickly looking at this survey that you,
Yep.
I think under 8B, 175,000 in PEG capital grants payable in the following installments. I think it should be explained what that is, but the average person out there is not gonna know
Okay.
what that is. And the same thing on the last page, under D, expand the PCF network. I think it needs an explanation to the people what the PCF network is.
Okay.
And, maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with the abbreviation term. Or maybe
Right.
you could keep it, expand the PCF network and then put in parentheses.
Right,
and
what
just
it
spell out.
means. Okay.
Yeah, good idea.
Um,
Right.
And then, yeah, as part of this, we gotta audit the sites around Groveland that have cable service and equipment outlined in the franchise contract to see if it does in fact have it, and is it working? Are they making use of it? And we need to identify other locations, both current and future, that may need service and equipment, so when talking to the school, it may be, since they're talking, if they do a new, well, whether or not they do a new high school or not, would the three communities want to see an education channel? Because we would have to negotiate for a third channel for education.
Maybe the schools would want to do something with a studio.
Yeah, well, that would only happen if, they build a new high school. Because I don't think they have any room in the old one for a studio. And then, number 3 dash Roman numeral 5, identify age and functionality of services and equipment currently in use. And that will be something that will defer to both Chris and Rob to make a list of the equipment. Okay. So that's work for March.
Okay.
Under old business, is there any update on the PA system in here?
Yeah, so I met with HB last week. They're going to look into doing another go at what they think is wrong. They think it's a distribution amplifier problem. They had quoted me at an outrageous figure a couple months ago, and I told them, look, this is way too high. Come back with something that's reasonable, that, we can address the problem with,
Well-
a couple things, not like some huge thing.
Well, like I said, I'm not happy then.
I know.
With that, and before I would have HB come back, I would,
Well, I've also met with, that's one
Well,
track. but
Rob
the other
Carbone,
track is-
had mentioned his
He's-
sound engineer.
Right,
Like I say, this is a small room. for that not to work, means they don't have people who are capable of doing it, because that PA has not worked right from day one. So whether it's the amplifier, or undersized, or too many speakers, you know what, I don't care. They should have said, this is what we need. I don't wanna hear that, this is what we quoted, cause we didn't think you wanted to spend the money. That was never told
Yeah,
to
I've
us.
expressed my extreme dissatisfaction with the job that they did on that,
So-
they know that we're not happy with it. and,
So,
it's on
they're
them
in
to fix
danger
it,
of
but
losing future business
Yeah.
if that's the best they can do.
I've made clear to them that, I'll follow up with Rob again. We did meet and identify what we thought was the problem, and we do think it's a distribution amplifier that isn't powerful enough.
Right. Cause I thought Rob said he had one that
Yeah,
he was gonna
Yeah,
try.
so,
Or could you borrow one if
Right.
you need something more powerful? Because ideally, if you have to disconnect those first 4 speakers, it's the back of the room that we want to get sound to. And my goal to you and Rob would be that I want it working for, ideally our ascertainment hearing, but if not, by then, it's gotta be working before we do candidates night before elections.
right.
And that'll be coming up, I believe, in April.
Yeah, that's usually the end of April.
So,
So,
please,
if Rob and I can't fix it,
please get together with Rob, and I know he's ill, but that has got to be accomplished this month.
Yep.
Got to one way or another, whether we have to hire a sound engineer to come in to determine it.
So one of the questions I thought we had at the last time, maybe we did figure this out, but did we have approval to hire his sound engineer? Because that wasn't.
We've got to talk to Denise on that, but, my understanding was the two of you, because he had an amplifier, my understanding was that you were gonna try that amplifier, and if that amplifier did not work, we were gonna go with Plan B of hiring a consultant. And like I say, at this point, since HP installed it, I'm not in favor of them trying to fix it,
Mhm.
since, to me, it hasn't worked right since they installed it.
Yep. We'll take a crack at it. I'll get back in touch with them.
Alright.
I do know one of the things that was asked, this is, I guess, kind of an aside, but the Council on Aging keeps asking if we can provide them with speakers for,
Right, well, again, my question was, can those speakers be multi-use, or
they
is?
can, but not as they exist. So that was one of the things I brought HB in to look at, hey, fix this problem so this is working right, and if we need this additional other functionality for them, they're gonna have to add something to it, but they know they gotta fix it. And so we have been working on that, but it's taking longer than I've hoped.
I tell you, sometimes I feel that because we're such small potatoes, that some of the bigger companies take advantage of us.
No surprise.
But guess that goes with the territory.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Okay. The other thing, how are we on the problems with the microphones? One of the things I had been approached by 2 people, and I was told the last selectmen's meeting, the audio was not that great, and the picture quality was not that great. So
Did they specify anything further? I mean,
I
was
had
it
2
too
people,
high? Was
2
it too
different
low?
people,
Was
they
Can you
said
elaborate
it was
on that?
scratchy, and the picture was snowy.
Hmm.
So you had no other,
I looked at it Friday. I
Right.
didn't see anything.
okay, so no
like
one else,
that with the picture
through
quality.
Denise said anything to you about
No, I
that?
didn't
Did
get anything.
Any
but-
of you get any feedback from any people you have come in contact with about,
Well, my opinion on that meeting was,
Yeah.
I had mentioned to you, that it sounded like an echo chamber, and the pixels on the picture, they'd fade in and out. So you didn't get a good quality picture, not all the time.
Yeah, it's possible that it was too high and that was affecting the modulation of it. Sometimes that happens. So that's why I'm wondering, was the complaint that it was, impossible to hear, or was the volume not high enough? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Usually if it's too high,
It reminded me of if you listen to the school committee meetings.
yeah,
To me, that's terrible. I mean, it sounds like you're in the bottom of a battleship.
well, we don't do those, the school does, so that's not something I
it's
can
just
improve. I
and
can either just not air them, or we can air them.
that was just my opinion.
Yeah.
Somebody else had mentioned to me too about the selectmen's meeting with the pixels and
Okay,
it just sounded like an echo chamber.
okay.
Well, either that or, like I say, first goal is to get this fixed. The speakers, the microphones. You said HB has looked at the microphones?
Yeah, so it's not the actual microphones, it's the thing that I mentioned
The
2 weeks
base.
ago, one of the base stations, we have two of them. The one where almost everything is linked to is working fine, but one that has the two smaller mics that we really don't use much anymore, but occasionally we need to, that came unlinked, and there's some issue with that piece of equipment. It's 5 years old, we don't know exactly what, they came on site, they tried to fix it. We're either gonna have to send that back in somewhere to get repaired or replace it. So,
I would make a motion that we replace it. I don't,
Second.
5 years in electronics is an antique, unfortunately. So, I would make entertain a motion from somebody to replace the,
I'll second that motion.
or actually, before we can actually do that, I would say, Chris, will you get a quote from them? Before we replace, we shouldn't replace without having,
Right.
The
Let's find out
cost.
what it will be.
yeah, do you want me to ask
Yes.
what the repair cost is, just so we can?
no, I don't
compare
want the
the two?
repair
Okay.
cost.
No.
It's like, I want replacement cost. Because, if we can't function with good sound and good quality picture, then, we're not doing our jobs. So for our next meeting,
You must have a ballpark figure. You must have a ballpark figure.
Well,
These,
let me ask you this, anyone available on Saturday, like I say, to come, you said you might be able to come at 9?
Yeah.
I'll be
You
here.
know,
Yeah, I'll be.
can you, by Saturday, get the cost to replace the base unit?
Yeah, I should have that.
And
I
that-
don't know it off the top of my head, and it's probably changed in the last 5 years anyway, but it's, it's not a microphone, it's the computer, basically. So,
Let me ask you this, under new business. Are there any preventative maintenance checks? When I was in the military, we had what we call PMCS, preventative maintenance checks and services. Certain equipment, you knew X number of hours, you changed the oil, you checked the air filter, everything, and everything was documented. On our equipment here, there's gotta be something similar for electronics, that that rather than wait for something to die at 5 years, replace it at 4 years.
yeah.
Is that something, do we have a list of preventative maintenance that can be done to any of that equipment to prevent it from failing?
Right, so anything that we're using is over 5 years old now.
Mhm.
And so that would all sort of be in that ballpark. I mean, I think for the most part, things are okay. We're replacing the server and the bulletin board, obviously,
Yeah.
those are super high priority. I don't see the need to replace the new tech just yet, but, it's old and it could die on us, so, that's something that could happen. I think that could be cleaned probably. I know, I mean, we had a warranty on everything when we first put it in, but we don't have like a service contract, you know, to like come look at stuff. That's something that we could look into. I think now that we're, you know, well outside of all that, you know, warranty on stuff, that might be a good thing to just do, like, you know, a once a year type thing where we just look at stuff and say that this is totally needs, you know, to be replaced or addressed, or we gotta put this in the, you know, on the list for the next go-round of stuff that we do.
Well, I know, speaking from experience, like at work, I know my boss will sometimes have a computer technician come in, and they shut down the computers, open everything up, and vacuum out the dust, because dust and dirt are really bad for electronics. You
Yeah.
know, have we ever done anything like that to our equipment, or is anything of that type similar to like a computer that should have that done to?
Yeah, I've not done it with a vacuum, but I've like at times cleaned some of the dust off of the NewTek fan. You know, I've not wanted to like spray anything in there because I'm not, you know, technician on how to do that. I wouldn't want to damage it, not knowing what I'm
Right,
doing.
right, but a
when it's
vacuum
been an
is suck-
obvious buildup
suck.
or something, I
Yeah.
try and take care of that.
Okay.
But yeah, that is something I did talk to, you know, HB about possibly doing at some point, so I can, you know, see what we can do on that front.
Well, just to follow up, because it's not an area I'm real familiar with, in terms of, are these pieces of equipment and the computers and stuff, something that should have a regular maintenance check, like your automobile? Or are they something that has a lifespan of 5 years, and in 5 years, we're looking at replacing?
They generally have a lifespan, you know,
Right,
not
so it's-
everything we use,
Right.
you know, but I would say 80 to 90%. So, you know, our computers are overdue. They're not
Right.
failing, but they're
But there's,
overdue.
but there's nothing along the lines between purchase today and 5 years or 10 years out, whatever their span is, that we should be doing on a regular basis. Is that right, or is there something? I don't know. I mean,
I think we should be upgrading the things that need to be upgraded. I know that that's kind of vague, I guess, but, you know, we should be prepared to replace the broadcast system every 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
We're 4 or 5 years into that.
so no matter what we did in 2 years, it's not gonna make it last another 2 years, I guess is what I'm asking, so. It's not
Right.
that kind of equipment,
It's not like changing the oil on your car every,
and the spark plugs and all
I
that
mean,
good
it
stuff.
depends what goes wrong with it. You know, we could have a
Okay.
hard drive on that fail, and we might be able to
Replace
replace
the
the
hard-
drive. But
okay.
they also might discontinue the drive, like what happened with, you know, the carousel parts and the servers. So it depends. I know
Yeah.
for the new tech is pretty good. We could probably get replacement parts on that, but they also might say to me, you know, you should just upgrade
Yeah.
because there's a lot better system out there. You know, we can look at that. I don't foresee us having to like replace that entire thing unless it just completely dies. And you know, I sort of, you know, a 5-year lifespan on that. I mean, we've done hundreds and hundreds of meetings with that thing, so you know, but then it's been extremely reliable.
Okay.
So who knows? You know?
okay.
It comes up in the time that you have to have a service contract.
Excuse me?
Yes, that's true.
Medical, I was medical for many years, and we had a 6-month service to all
All equipment.
electronic parts in the hospital.
Yeah, well, that's why I
We-
was
Normally,
asking.
we had a 1-year warranty with the installation of everything in this room, you know, we're long past outside of that. I think, you know, through our vendor HB, we can do these things called service contracts, where, you know, if anything goes wrong, we call them and they come out and they fix it or replace it or repair it or whatever. And I'd recommend that we start spending the money to do something like that. I don't think it would be extravagant. I think we're talking a couple grand a year.
Yep.
And that, I think, is something that makes sense, given the age of everything we got now.
Mhm.
So, I could look into, pricing on that if, because we have let a lot of things coast for a long time, we didn't have a board, so it was really
Yep.
difficult to,
Yep.
address non-emergency type things.
Right.
Yep, all right. Anyone else have anything they want to propose for new business for the next meeting? Okay. Then we will adjourn at 7:55.
Second motion.
Oh, yeah. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, you just did it.
Oh,
Yes.
I
okay.
seconded it.
Okay, so be it. Oh, and so a reminder to anyone in Groveland who wants to meet with representatives of the board this Saturday, March 2nd, 8:30 to 10 here at Town Hall. You can review the contract. You can come in and tell us anything you want to about your relationship with Comcast, pro-con. We just have to start the process of feedback from people, and we encourage people to come in and let us know. All right, thank you,
Great.
and good night.
How about taking a vote?
Say aye.
Aye. Do we have a couple of more?